Good morning, David.
Find the soft spot.
Don's asking about
You can't have it. Yeah, no, it's you roll it out. It's wrong because Troy was David. What? You roll the short straw. Yeah, I did.
Dave covers the county commission meetings.
Dave is kind of a... Dave was on stage the other night. Made his stage appearance.
Was that right?
You did.
Oh, that deal, yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Looney Lutherans?
The Looney Lutherans, yeah. Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m., Tuesday, September 24th, and it is time for our weekly Cudahy County Board of Commission meeting. We'll open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And let's see, last year, Dave led it. I'll lead it this, okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A couple of housekeeping chores. If you have a cell phone, which I'm sure you do, please silence it or turn it off. If you do get a call during the meeting that you need to take, please step out into the rotunda and answer the call so you don't disrupt the meeting. This meeting is being streamed live, so if you wish to address the board for any reason, just a heads up, you will be on the live stream so that you can be aware of what's going on. Is there anyone in the audience at this time that would like to bring something to the Board of Commissioners that is not on the agenda, that is not unagendized? We want to make certain that we allow time for you to do that. If you do, we will not be able to act on it since it isn't on the agenda, but we certainly would like to hear your requests or your concerns, whatever they may be, and we would do that during the open. I do not see any, so are there any commissioners that have any conflicts of interest with any items on the agenda?
No.
Apparently I see none. I do have, and I something that I picked up out at the state conference this week, and one of the meetings I attended was a good session on conflict of interest and what it all involved, and I'll get that to everyone. I'll get copies to everyone. I did learn some things there. I thought it was primarily if you didn't have any financial interest in it that you were okay, but that's not always true. There are other things that would cause you to have conflict of interest. But it was a good session, and I learned some things. That being said, I'll entertain a motion to
approve the agenda.
Approve the
Second.
agenda. We have a motion by Hatton, a second by, who made the second? Van Dusen. Any discussion? I do have a request for 2 or 3 executive session issues, and so at the end of the meeting we will announce them. Seeing no other discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. How about the minutes of the
Move to approve as
September
emailed.
10th meeting? Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
So on to number 6 then, action to approve a resolution adopting the Cottington County 5-year county highway and bridge improvement plan. And at our last meeting, we, Rick, our county highway superintendent, reviewed that with us, and again, it's in your packet. Rick? Good morning, Rick.
Morning, Rick.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Rick Hartley, Cottington County Highway Superintendent.
All right. Is there anything, changes from what you shared with us before?
No, everything should be the same as what I shared the last time I was here, so.
Make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the 5-year county highway bridge improvement plan.
I'll
We have a
second the
motion
motion.
to approve and a second by
Second.
Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. It is approved. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Let's go on to number 7, and that's the opening of the fire suppression system bids, a possible action awarded. And who has those bids?
I have the bid.
Oh, you have the bid. Apparently, there's one bid.
Who's the bidder?
Open it up and make sure. All right, so the bid form is Prairie Sons Incorporated out of Brandon. And I will let Commissioner Gable announce the bids.
Okay. So they checked off all the notice to bidders and the pre-bid notes. And there is I'm not seeing, is there bid security in the envelope?
No, there wasn't.
Oh, you have it, okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. Okay, so I got the bid security. So the base bid is $71,130. So that's everything. So that's the installation and the components or the equipment. And then alternate amount is $68,060. And the alternate was, so since Chip Primus called me, he said he can't be here. I'm thinking the best thing to do, even though it's one bid, we probably should validate, just get with him before we actually award, was what my recommendation would be, Mr. Chairman. So
Can we do that yet today?
he's not going to be in. He gave me a
not?
call. No, he's not going to make it back. So,
Okay.
yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to do that. But I'd really like to talk to, for everybody's information, Chip Primus is the city fire marshal. So I'd like to talk to him first.
What's the
Motion
difference?
to postpone until, do you have a date in mind?
Why don't we,
Should we try for a week or 2?
why don't we try for a week?
Okay.
The motion is to postpone
The
it
motion is
1
to
week.
postpone the award.
Week from
Yeah,
today.
1
yeah,
week.
We'll
Okay.
have it on the agenda next week
Yeah.
then.
yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
Motion by Gable,
yeah, I'll
Second.
make that motion.
Second that.
second by Hanton.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Just preliminary, is that within the,
Yeah, so can I add a couple things, Mr. Chairman? Just so
Go
people
ahead.
understand. So the basic price was within the spec to put the sprinklers on the top 3. So this floor and the floors above. And then the alternate was to use steel pipe in lieu of copper. So there were a few places in historical areas where we knew the pipe would be exposed. And so we wanted to use copper, which looks a little better. And so, but in a few cases, we wanted to look at using steel pipe instead of the copper. So that's where that alternate comes in, that 68. So that's the alternate for the just, you can do one or the other, basically. So it's either going to, so with the copper pipe, it's $71,130. With the steel pipe, it's $68,060. And so the question is largely one of aesthetics. And so so it's basically that, you know, if we decide to accept this, you know, Prairie Sun's bid, we pick one of those, not both of them. Okay?
Will the representative of that company be able to be here next week? I'm sorry I had to drive up here for just an
Well,
opening.
yeah, I'm not sure. I think we can probably ask, well, we might just want to just ask, Chip might give you a call, just to ask a couple questions. So maybe, Mr. Chairman, they might not need to make the trip for that, so.
Okay.
But,
All right.
but you can go back and say, we had the only bid, so. So,
Can we video that, or?
if we need to, if we need to, we can have them call in too. Yeah, so.
All right.
So it's a
Okay.
difference of $3,070
Yeah,
between the
yeah,
two.
and so it's largely a question of aesthetics, and I think the big issue with the courthouse is the historical aesthetics of certain rooms, so.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any more discussion? Any more discussion? Any more discussion? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll finish this up next Tuesday. Let's go on to the monthly reports. The first one is the facility manager. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you this morning, Jeff?
Don't have much, but I got a little bit.
That's good.
It's email from Carol Ford. Says various sites in the park closed due to high water issues. The pavilion building closed along with bathrooms beside the pavilion due to high water issues. Ashley Linder and Sarah Bainan will be running the office and dealing with reservations and payment. Details and instructions have been printed and left for them concerning the software program, even though both are very efficient with the program. We do have a few construction workers who have been guests of the park all season who will be staying into October. The water does get shut down in bathhouses, so both have been relocated to sites across from the manager's residence so they can fill their water tanks as needed. Both are aware that payment is made through Ashley and the treasurer's office. Maintenance will be present in the park the third week of October. Carol Ford.
I had an opportunity to visit with the ladies from the treasurer's office, and they say it's going on fine. It's going fine, going good. So just thought I'd touch base with them to thank them and appreciate what they're doing, helping out. Okay. What else you got?
Ag building, they say it's kind of slow. They've had a couple auctions and the fiber farrows this past weekend. No major problems. The detention center, the remodel of dorm 1 is done and back in use. Safe and Secure replaced a few cameras and ran wiring for the dorm. In the courthouse, Safe and Secure to replace the circuit board above the ceiling in the court reporter's office. All cameras are functional again. The welfare office phone dialer and DVR was taken out by lightning last month. Has been replaced, and all is covered by warranty. And a new computer for the door locks will be installed in the basement this Friday. And I have a request from the clerk report for body microphone.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
For what?
It's for a body microphone for the lawyers in the courtroom. They have one, but they need two because the other lawyer wants to have one too.
Well, just tell them they need to share.
It'll have to go on the agenda for next week.
Yeah.
because-
Next week?
Here,
It
you
was
want to give
not,
it?
it was not put on the agenda for this meeting,
Yeah.
so,
I don't know.
yeah,
I'm an amateur.
okay.
Is that something
You're doing fine,
that-
Jeff.
I think they could share.
Is that
And that's-
something that's our responsibility, that we have to supply them?
Well, I didn't know if it was for us or what.
Is that through
gave
UJS
it
or
to
is
me.
that through us?
I assume since it's for the courtroom, it's our responsibility.
I don't think it's a big dollar item.
$2,800.
Oh, 2,800.
I don't,
Pretty good money. Boy.
do you want
Yeah,
the
was this?
clerk of courts to come up here to
That'd
You
be
should
good.
probably present that in
explain?
next week's
present?
meeting. huh?
Okay,
That'd be
Was
good.
this the one, was this the adjustment thing that,
no,
this was the?
this is a whole different thing. This is a body mic.
They have one, but they have to stop the cart and switch it to the other lawyer when the lawyer starts talking. They want to.
Okay.
We have body mics that we use before we got these systems. I wonder if we could implement one of those. I think we had 5 or 6 of them up here.
Those headsets.
Those little, yeah.
Oh, those are headsets, but
Yeah.
I wonder if we can incorporate just we'll look into that.
All right, okay. Anything else for Jeff this morning?
I just have one citizen that approached me that questioned why we still had our sprinklers running. Is that
They're
something?
gonna be shut off today
Okay,
and blowing out sometime, I don't know when.
perfect, thank you.
Anything else? All right, Jeff, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. All right, let's go on to the highway soup. Rick? Good morning again.
Those pictures that I shared, the one on 8-2 is the one we're currently working on. That's roughly 2,500 feet, that there's at least a foot of water over the road.
For the benefit of the press, you might mention what you gave the board before the meeting started.
I gave them pictures of 2 county roads. One was 10-1 and the other one was 8-2. 8-2 is 168th Street. 10-1 is 170th Street.
What was 8-2? 168?
68,
And they're both underwater
yes.
at this time?
Like we did before, but so everybody understands, where are these at?
8-2 is 4 miles straight west of Compesca Lodge. These are both gravel roads. 10-1 is 3 miles north of Henry and 1.5 miles back to the east.
And are they county roads?
Yes, they're both county roads.
County roads.
Like I mentioned, 8-2 is roughly 2,500 feet that we're building up, and 10-1 is roughly 700 feet. So there's,
These are both gravel roads?
yep, they're both gravel roads.
And that's where you're hauling the dirt from
Yes.
those locations that you had asked for
Well, we
approval?
didn't take any of the dirt alongside the road because most of that was wet and the farmers, one, didn't want to let us into there. So we moved to a gravel pit, which is approximately 5 miles away.
Okay.
We got permission to get in there and take pit run out of there. So we can add a little bit of clay if it's dry, but most of the clay is wet, so that's why we didn't go with something right alongside the road.
So you're building those up?
Yes,
How long of a process is that?
long.
5
Yeah.
years.
5 years? Oh, yeah. Got it.
On 8-2, we started last week, and we're not quite halfway through, but it's only about a foot out of the water. So we want to get it at least 2 to 3 feet out of the water and probably 26 feet wide. We have some rock on the shoulder because it was washed out into the road, and we placed rock along the shoulder to keep it from washing. And we were going to start building it up, but we got all that rain and it covered the road before we could get there. So
Are either of these bus route or mail route or what? How are they disrupting the local traffic flow other than the local farmers? Or
I would say the one's a mail route. I don't know about a school route. I don't know if there's any kids that live on there. So I'm not exactly sure. I haven't heard anything from the school district, but
Is there any kind of assistance for doing this, or is this just out of our budget?
well, right now it's coming out of our budget, but it depends whether or not the disaster is added on from the rain. So we'll find out somewhere along the line if it's added. Those sites will be added to the FEMA project that we have going on now, so.
This was not included in the original paperwork? or
No,
paperwork.
no, because the one, I think, went underwater like the 16th of September, so we just can't predict the rain.
Yeah.
And they're both, neither one of them drain. They just, the water runs in there and it stays. They've both been built up before, so we're setting a new high.
Okay, any more questions? Right. All right, anything else this morning, Rick? I see you guys are mowing roads.
Yep, the guys are still mowing. We're, 2 out of the 3 mowers are going. One of the mowers is broke down. We're waiting for parts for that, so it'll be about a week. We currently have one of our older trucks out at Titans. One of the engine blew up, so we're replacing that. Wind towers are going full force, so if you're up in the Waverly South Shore area, drive with caution. We've had a couple calls about wanting more signs and stuff like that, so there's possibly 500 people working up there, so drive with
Signs
care.
for what?
Oh, pulling out of their driveway, there's kind of a hill, like a hill blocks view or something like that, to try and help out.
And you're right, I was up there, I've been up there a couple, 2-3 times, and Friday, I was up there, and I come over the hill, and I swear there's 200 pickups in that one area up there. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you haven't been up there to see what's going on, you need to go up there. There's lots of activity, and a lot of truck hauling.
Yeah, I couldn't find a place to park when I went up there to talk.
And that's in a quarter section.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable.
Just as a FYI, we had our planning and zoning meeting last night, and there's 20-some permits that have been permitted so far. And that's probably about a third of the way done. So,
yeah, they're moving dirt wherever they can.
Yeah.
They're having a problem with their batch plant because it's kind of right in a mud hole. So it's tough going for those guys and just everybody else too, so.
Yeah.
that's just the Crown Ridge 1, and Crown
Yes.
Ridge 2 will move south of 212 in Cranston.
Yeah, it'll be south of Waverly, because right now, currently, the end of it is Waverly right in there.
Then it goes down into
Yep.
southern.
Clear down to almost to the
Where,
county
where
line.
Because
the
then it will cut over to Dual County.
Yep.
majority of the activity is, if you go on County Road 6, if you go about 2 miles east of Waverly,
Yeah.
County Road 6, and then go a couple miles north, headed towards South Shore, that's where you better be careful, because there's a lot of trucks and a lot of stuff going on along there, so
Yeah.
that's where the majority of the traffic is. What in the world, do we have an outer space?
They're washing windows, Mr.
Oh.
Chairman.
People watch
We're
this.
being invaded here.
It's just raining again.
Oh,
That's being streamed live. Just saying.
Currently, Blattner, they're the ones that are building the wind towers. They are maintaining County Road 7-2, 7-3, and 4-6. That's all gravel. Our blade does not go down there.
Blattner?
Yeah,
How do you spell that?
Lattner.
Okay,
yep.
They're sitting in Millbank. They're working out of Millbank, I think, is where
okay.
Yeah,
they
they've
set up there.
They've got an office there, and then their office is on County Road 3,
Okay.
south of South Shore. Where their lay-down yard is and transformers, they have offices set up there. That's where Myron was talking about.
Yeah.
You couldn't hardly
Okay.
get a place to park,
yeah.
so.
The only report I got was that one of the trucks got cited pretty heavily for overloading. And I don't know, do they have scales on, they must have scales up there somewhere,
I do not
but
know.
there's a sizable fine, I know.
Yeah,
That's what I was told, I don't know.
Yeah, I
to
heard
Highway
that this
Patrol.
morning, so.
Other than that, I haven't heard
Highway
anything.
Patrol enforces it.
Yeah, because the ones hauling stuff in from out of state, they usually call and get a permit. But the ones that are hauling from site to site, I couldn't tell you
Sure,
what they have, so.
yeah.
I will be attending the Regional Local Road Conference in Rapid City, October 15th. I was elected to the executive committee for the South Dakota Association of County Superintendents. There's a meeting on the 15th. We're probably going to work Friday to try and, as long as we have a little dry weather, to work on our roads that are underwater. So we're probably going to have a little overtime.
County roads, not township. But
Just those two.
just those two is all?
Yep.
Okay.
We have 3 of them that are closed. There's one south of Tinkertown that is currently closed. That was from this spring. We started building it up, but then we had to move on to other things, and it's just one thing after another, so.
How's the spillway on Sioux Conifer Road? How was that?
That's down, most of
down.
that's way down. We did not have an issue out of this last rainfall with any water over the road there, so,
Good,
which was kind of nice.
finally.
Other than that, that's pretty much it.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Rick? Anything at all? All right, thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Back to work.
Yep.
All right, let's go on then to Jim, Emergency Management. He might tell us about being reimbursed for all of the work that's going on now. And he just says, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. I've got a few things to go over with you this morning. Begin with, since we were last, or I was last here, Sherry and I attended the State Emergency Management Conference in Pierre. We had some good training there, and we had some very good speakers at the conference also. So it was a good conference with a lot of information. Sherry and I, along with other county officials, we're going to be having a meeting with the FEMA on Thursday, the 26th, here at the courthouse, going over our projects or our sites and the paperwork associated to it with our request for assistance. Tomorrow I'll be attending a city department head meeting with other city officials. I continue to work with the hospital and other individuals. We're continuing with the Stop the Bleed program. That's going very well. We've got a lot of the kits in already. I've been storing the kits in my supply room at the law enforcement center here. So that's a portion of the work that we're doing. Recently, we reviewed our local emergency operations plan. Does not need to be updated at this time, but there's a sheet. I believe, Cindy, do you have the sheet?
Yep, I do. I've had Myron sign it.
I signed it.
Yep.
Okay, and then we need to have Myron sign off that
And I did.
we did do that review.
Yep.
And next thing I've got is Lake County requested 30,000 sandbags from us for use down in Lake County during their flooding. I invoiced them for the cost of the sandbags at the current rate that would cost us to replace the sandbags. But now yesterday, the emergency management director down there called and said that they didn't use the sandbags and they want to send them back to us. So we will be getting them back sometime. So it's
All 30,000?
all 30,000, yeah. So hopefully they kept them good and dry.
Yeah.
We have been applying sandbags out to Lake Kempesca for county residents and city residents out there. The city that has a sand pile out there at Sailboat Landing, and so far I have used about 2,500 sandbags out there. But we've got a problem with people taking sandbags but not filling them with sand. They're taking sandbags and hoarding them. So I'm going to talk with the mayor today and let you folks know that I think we're going to start issuing them at the county jail like we did this spring, and people are going to have to sign for the bags that they're receiving. But 2,500 sandbags, that would take about 125,000 pounds of sand to fill them, and believe me, we haven't went through nearly that much sand out there. So Next thing I got is our search and rescue team. The last week on Wednesday, on Wednesday, they were called up to Dade County to assist in the search of a hit-and-run driver that had fled, went out into a cornfield, and they were up there. They helped search for the individual, and the individual was not found. That individual that had not made contact with the family or anything, they continued searching for him, and the sheriff contacted us and made arrangements for us to come up and assist with the search again on Sunday. And that individual was located deceased out in a tree patch in the cornfield there. So they did assist with that search and locating that victim. Also, that same day on Sunday, we assisted with a vehicle that went in the water south of Tinkertown, and there was a driver and a child that was in the vehicle, and a local couple that lives right there watched and saw the vehicle go in the water, and with their assistance, they were able to rescue the driver and the child, because the vehicle went out in the water a long ways. It was about 140 feet off of the shoulder of the road is where it ended up, and it was in about 10 feet of water. So without their assistance, it may have been a different outcome, because with that vehicle out there, you would have never known that it was there. So and I'm just glad that they were there and able to assist.
We certainly need to send out a thank you for them to render the assistance.
Correct.
To save those lives.
That will be done. On October 7th, Sherry and I, along with other city and county officials, will be taking part in a tabletop exercise for the point of dispensing plan that we have and that we maintain here in Cottington County, and that will be on October 7th that we do that. And then the last thing I've got is today we're having a meeting with government officials dealing with the river gauges on the Big Sioux River and some discrepancies that we see with the river gauges, and we're trying to everybody get on the same page going into this coming spring, because if we do get measurable snow this winter, we very possibly could have some problems in the spring with flooding. So we're just trying to all get on the same page. So we'll be doing that today. And let me see here.
October 15th, I see the volunteer.
Correct, and that's the next thing is we just sent that out yesterday. Our volunteer appreciation dinner will be on October 15th, and that is hosted by the Watertown Police Department, Watertown Fire Department, the Cottington County Sheriff's Department, and then Cottington County Emergency Management. We all go together, and we have a meal honoring the volunteers that help us throughout the year, and you'll be receiving a letter in the mail on that also. So
Jim, that river gauge meeting, where's that going to be at?
that's at Fire Station number 1.
What time is that?
10 o'clock, 10:30, excuse me, an hour from now. So,
Any more questions
Yeah,
for Jim?
just following up on Commissioner Van Dusen's question. So is it a calibration issue with the gauges, or is it, what is it exactly?
I could explain more of it to you, Lee, but with the pictures. The one thing that we're talking about is like the gauge on South Broadway. If you look at the National Weather Service site and what they determine is minor flooding, moderate flooding, and major flooding, the highest that river has ever been was in 1997. We were at 13.7 feet in 1997. And according to their charts, that's minor flooding. Well,
Okay.
that's the worst flood that we've ever had in Cottington County. So how can it be minor flooding? And in fact, with the storm sewer lines and stuff that we have in town, at about 10.5 feet, we have to start shutting down the structures, the inlet structures on the storm sewer lines, and we have to start pumping water out of the storm sewers back over the berms into the river at 10.5 feet. Well, 10.5 feet isn't even minor flooding. But to us, that is minor. It's getting major because we're renting equipment and paying to,
Classification issue.
right,
Yeah,
like
okay.
this spring, with the flooding that we had, there was over $100,000 that the city spent just on renting water pumps to pump water over the berms to prevent flooding in town.
And that really became an issue. I know I was down in the EOC during that event, and it really became an issue because it was showing on the gauges that we were only having, very minor to moderate flooding, when in effect, like you said, Jim, it was starting to become a serious issue. So.
All right. And we were putting information out that, the National Weather Service is predicting minor flooding, possibly up to the moderate level. Well, at 10.5 feet, that's not,
It's pretty serious.
we're having problems. So we're trying to get all on the same page and get things more in line with what they actually are going through town here.
Even with the amount of flooding and problems that we have here, we're still really lucky. Having visited with several of the commissioners from around the state this week, there's some real problems out there. Don't have to go very far south to Madison as an example, and they got some, thank goodness we don't have those problems. The only thing is that, we probably think we're out of the woods, but if you drive along the parks along the river are all flooded, and if you come up to my place 7 miles north of here, it's still running over the spillway. So that water is all coming here yet, and it doesn't move very fast.
Jim, is Cottington County in line to receive federal funding from the state level? I know the governor's disaster declaration and stuff that she has out there, but what are we looking at for our county here?
Well, we're in line for the first wave of flooding that we applied for assistance on. Since that time, we haven't had enough reportable damage to meet the threshold, because there's been probably 3 or 4 different disaster declarations that they're working on right now for the state this year, because it's just been an ongoing thing. Now, after listening to Rick, and I want to talk to Rick now and see how much damage that we have, how much it's going to cost to work on those roads, and if those roads that he's working on qualify for FEMA assistance, I'll be reviewing that with him and bringing back the
What is
information
that?
to you.
What is that threshold, that dollar amount to qualify? Do you know?
I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it's in excess of $100,000 for the county.
Okay.
So,
One last question. So the officials you're meeting with on the gauges, is that a local meeting or is
there's people coming in from the National Weather Service, from the Army Corps of
Okay.
Engineers, and the U.S. Geological
Okay.
Survey.
Okay, thank you.
So we're just all going
Yeah,
to
it's
sit
a
at
big
the same
deal, yeah.
table and talk about this stuff. So,
All right.
the mayor, I'll suggest that the mayor releases some information after the meeting to the public.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Okay?
Perfect.
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it. Brad. Good morning, Sheriff Brad. We heard you on the radio this morning, and we said we're going to get a double dose of Brad this morning, so.
You are. We're going to get a double dose.
Jail numbers are down, and
Well, they're still holding somewhat steady.
Thanks, Brad.
looking for some good news, Brad. So,
All right. Well, we'll get started with the monthly balance sheet there. That's the first page on your guys' handout. End of August, balance was $8,027.05. And if you jump down, you'll see we collected $24 in copy fees, collected $7,013.55 in sheriff's fees, and $400 in warrant fees collected, for a grand total of $7,437.55. Jump to the next page. Lee's already got it pulled up there. All right, for August, on our cases and calls, responded to, 585 cases and calls, month of August, 14 accidents investigated, 93 warrants were served, 248 civil papers were served, and 6,279 miles in transports. You can see our transport miles are still high. We've been doing a lot of running. It was 26 transports, and a total of 32 people were transported. So we try to double up as much as we can when we're running across the state picking people up. We just recently got back from Tennessee, having to go pick up an inmate down there on charges. So September's miles are going to be high as well. You can see it's been busy. We jump down to the middle there for jail stats. Our average daily population for August is 71.71. Our high ADP was 82, and that was on the 10th. On the 24th, our low was 53. On the scram bracelet, we have 22 people. Twice daily PPT, 68. 49 on the twice weekly UAs. 2 on the sweat patch, for a grand total of 141 people participating on the 24/7 program, and 253 bookings. So that number seems to be staying somewhat steady on the bookings. Jump on down a little bit more to the bottom there. Some of the fees collected $19,957.81 in out-of-county contracts. Collected $11,120 on work release fees. Collected $6,643 in 24/7 fees, and $3,198 on the scram fees.
All right, any questions for Brad on those numbers? Anything?
Okay. Had a couple more things. I was going to talk about the wind towers a little bit. I know Rick kind of hit on them as well. Our office has been getting a few complaints as well. The added traffic and those signs and whatnot. I did refer some of those to Rick. I've kept Brenda in the loop because it's her district as well. I spoke to the job superintendent and the safety officer for Blattner Energy about a week and a half ago now, and they mentioned they had about 200 employees up there working in that area right now. They're going to ramp that up to about 500 plus here real soon. So we're going to see a lot more activity and a lot more traffic in that area. So that's something I just kind of want everybody to be aware of. The Highway Patrol deputies, we've been out there as well. Motor carrier, to confirm what Myron was talking about, there was a little over a $9,000 fine for overweight semi that was up in that area there. So the motor carrier has been up there as well. I've been sharing information with them. So a lot of traffic up there. Make sure we're slowing down a little bit. Harvest is coming, so there's going to be a lot more traffic up there, a lot more than what that area is used to. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. Up in that area, if they saw a car, during the day, it was pretty exciting. Now all of a sudden, the whole thing is lit up. It's busy.
And just like Myron was saying, if you do have a chance to make it up there and drive by there, it is quite the operation. A lot of equipment. It's a big thing for Cottington County up in the northeast there. So.
Very, very busy.
Some things happening in the jail. We got PPCT trainings in progress and handcuffing for the jail staff. We're working on that right now, about halfway done. The ceiling project in the dorm room that we started, that is complete. The false ceiling has been taken out. New lights, security lights have been put in, make that a little more secure. That project is done. I guess that's about all I have.
Any other questions? Brad, will you take a look at that, and can you hang around for our item number 13 when we talk about that welfare office security?
I can, as long as it's sooner than later, because I have to go to that flooding meeting with Jim as well.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll push right along here, and it's not going to take long. Number 9, note employees' years of service and memorial recognition at the state convention. These were awarded, and Cindy, you have them.
Excuse me, we have years of service this year for Lori Deutsch, the Cottington County Highway Deputy Department Office Coordinator for 25 years of service. And Jeff Case is in the Cottington County Highway Department Maintenance 2. He was recognized for 30 years of service. And then we recognize the following individuals who were county employees or officials who have passed. And that would be Curtis Berg was a sheriff, Donald Brownell was a deputy sheriff, Roger Fox was the state's attorney, Sylvan Mack was a Highway Department employee, and Margaret Peg McNulty was the county treasurer.
Okay, let it be known that we thank these people for their service, and of course, our thoughts and our prayers are with those that have passed. Let's go on then to number 10, which is just follow-up. That's note the Safety and Loss Control Recognition Awards. These were awarded at the state conference as well. Cindy?
Our highway department and our maintenance department were once awarded the gold level for safety and loss control recognition awards, and these are based on trainings that they put on, that those departments put on and reported to the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance.
And that also affects where
And it also affects our premiums. We do get a discount for taking a proactive approach.
And again, thank you to our employees and the good work that they do and following safety practices and just being safe. I mean, it pays. I mean, not only keeps them on the job and keeps them safe, but it also is reflected when it comes time to pay the premiums. All right, let's go on to number 11 then, action to approve a resolution canceling unclaimed warrants and checks. And there's a list in your packet of unclaimed checks and warrants. Cindy, you want to take it?
One of the checks that's listed on your report has been removed because we did make contact with an individual yesterday. So the outstanding warrant for one of those, it was in the amount of $50, has been removed. So this is money that, these are checks that we have issued to individuals or companies that have not been cashed, and per South Dakota law, we need to pass a resolution to cancel these warrants and send this amount of $306.55 to the state of South Dakota's unclaimed property.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion?
I had a conversation with Carol yesterday about this, and so if you know some of these individuals, she doesn't mail that check till mid-October, so you have a little bit of time if you notice somebody's name that they could still come in and claim it at the county level. Otherwise, they'll have to go through the process of unclaimed through the Treasury in the state of South Dakota. So if you notice somebody, let them know.
Lee?
Did you say the $50 one was cashed or something?
We reissued it yesterday
Oh,
on
okay.
behalf of that person, so yep.
Okay.
These checks run in the amount from $3.35 all the way up to $47.71 for a total of $306.55.
All right, that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
We have a motion and a second, we just need to vote.
We did. Okay, any more discussion? Any more discussion? Who made the motion?
Motion by
And-
Van Duzen, second by
Yep.
Waterman.
Gotcha. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Year-end report from Memorial Park. Do we
There was a
have-
request made to put this on the agenda, but I do not have, the report was not filed with me, so it may be something that's just continued or coming, so
Okay,
I have nothing at this time.
so let's go on then to number 13. Is Brad out in the hallway yet? And that's action to approve a security door project for the welfare office. We talked about this just briefly here a couple of weeks ago. In your packet is the information in reference to that. Sarah, you want to come forward and share with us what you feel is necessary for us to make this decision? And I see you have some backup with you today.
With me, I have Rich Allen with the Fallout Shelter who also,
Sarah, get on the mic.
I have with me, and I'm going to let him talk, Rich Ohm with Fallout Shelter, who also, he was scheduled just to take a look at what our options are and stuff for controlled access or secure access, and I'm going to have him speak to that, the reasons for that, and for that, the need for that. In addition, I have Joe, and I'm going to Piacentino. I see, and I still can't do it. With Safe and Secure, just to talk and address any questions you might have as far as concerns of the cost. Just keep in mind, the door is something that we were going to replace anyways. With the activity that we have that goes on outside of office hours at the city auditorium, would like to have something with a little bit more secure access, a little more thicker glass, but also the glass is opening. So that's something that's scheduled for the budget. As far as the costs that we have with this door, there is room in my budget for that as well. So we do have the funds. I'll let these two talk. We are seeing a lot more and more, like I stated, people running off of an emotional state, reactive. Just even this morning, I got off the phone with Danielle with Walford, and we've got issues over at the apartment. We've got squatters. We've got people that are stalking. So we're just seeing more and more people in a heightened state and requesting to be proactive versus reactive. So I will let Rich introduce himself and what he saw and the reasons for that, and then I will allow Joe as well. So.
Hello, my name is Rich Ohm. My wife and I are founders of the Fallout Shelter Ministries, and in that capacity we provide self-defense training as well as security consulting for mostly for nonprofits around the world, including Brazil, Thailand, Mexico, and as well as places like Call to Freedom and Sioux Falls and different places like that. So in that capacity, I've had the opportunity to view a lot of different facilities, and one of the biggest problems with any facility that serves the poverty level or otherwise affected individuals, whether it's psychologically affected or drugs or whatnot, is the biggest, easiest thing for safety in that facility is to control the access of who comes in and out. Also in the welfare office, there's people, like Sarah said, with a heightened state of emotions. And quite often, if you're in the welfare office, you're ashamed of what's led you to be there, which also lends to a heightened state of emotion. Having controlled access to allow one person in or two persons in would definitely increase the safety. And now that they're, if we follow the example of what the courthouse did with controlled access, it would only make a logical step to allow their office to have that controlled access as well. They're quite removed from law enforcement safety now, about 100 yards or 200 yards, whatever it is, across the street there. And they do have the cameras and the security button, but those all are non-reactive and that don't prohibit access. Given that access or that controlled access, I think would be a great benefit to their office.
Okay. And you?
I'm just more here to go over what is on the quote, which is a controlled access system. We already have the server in place, as Rich said, here at the courthouse. The software would tie in at the courthouse and be controlled in the same database with controlled access to anybody in the courthouse. Their cards would work over there. Also, in addition, we have a two-way intercom that can work with a door release. This will have an intercom station in both the vet's office as well as the welfare office for two-way communication and making that decision to release the door. Any additional questions on the hardware?
Anybody have any questions for him? Now's the time.
So to talk about this, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So to talk about this in layman's terms, so you're talking about a camera that you can see in the lobby. So this is both the welfare office and the veterans office would be able to control access to the doors just to their offices or to the auditorium as a whole.
This would be, this particular quote is just to control the door into the welfare office.
Okay.
Not the exterior door.
Okay.
We had just recently put the camera in the front reception area, kind of monitoring that front entry.
Okay. So that's an additional camera. And then
There's no additional cameras here, just a two-way audio intercom.
Right. So that's all this quote's for. Okay.
Correct.
Right,
The
okay.
intercom and door release.
Okay.
There is no camera within where the steps are to the outside. It's just in the hallway to my office, the hallway to the veterans office. So if we do have somebody that comes in, we're not able to see if they actually leave or not. I did ask if there was a possibility to put one more camera in that hallway. I can't see when people come in
So
or
do you-
when they leave.
Okay, so the camera, I mean, I know there's some additional cameras now at the security station where they can see your office, and I thought they could see out into the main lobby, but maybe I'm not remembering correctly.
Not that staircase, no.
Okay.
All right, folks, this is a $7,221.89 project. I think we need to discuss. Brad, would you come forward? We've been working with Brad, and he has done some more updating and some work over in that office to make sure what we felt was a secure office. And what do we have over there now?
Once again, some of this stuff I don't really want to share out in
Right.
open forum, but those security things that we did talk about last week have been made. Those changes have been made. They're not to this extent, this level, but those security things that we did talk about have been changed. And they were changed on Wednesday already. So.
Just Saturday, I received a notice from the Supreme Court, and I gave the letter to Brad, and I think, did you get a copy of that originally?
I got a copy of that as well. What he's referring to is a grant for security purposes for courthouses. Being the welfare director is not in the courthouse, I don't think that would apply.
That's what I was wondering, if we could apply
it's-
for that grant and use it for something like this.
It's more for court security, so it would work for anything on the courthouse here.
So like
But,
for like the judge's offices and those kinds of things?
Judge's office, if we needed to add anything to the court security coming in that we've already implemented, or cameras for the building or anything on the courthouse would work for that. But being that Sarah is over off the grounds here, this would not work.
That grant was offered last year as well. Or was it 2 years
Two
ago?
years ago now, we did apply and we got,
Okay.
I can't remember what we got.
But it's a statewide, and how much is the total grant dollars statewide?
210,000, and it's a 75% match.
Yeah.
Statewide.
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 It's not very much money.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
So, first one, Sarah, you mentioned that the door was going to be replaced anyway, and that's this part of the quote, the 2245. So that would have to come in. Okay, so that's
So that was, partial of that was budgeted. Additional would be the cost of the striker to put in there.
yeah. And then, so, and if we need to, the state law allows us to go into executive session to talk security matters now. That's a new law. So if we need to do that, maybe we should do it. But so we've done some slight upgrade, maybe not slight. I don't know, maybe slight's the right word or not. But it's different than what it was. So it's a little better than what it was.
Stuff is working that wasn't working prior.
That's part of it, but also there's some other differences, as I understand it, that are, improved. So, between those improvements that we've managed to make already and what we're talking about with the controlled access to that particular office, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, understanding what this, pros and cons about that. And that's kind of where I'm stuck. So,
I have a few comments, I guess, if I could also chime in. When we're talking about security, state offices out on 212, they have child protective services, they have child support issues out there. There's no secure access out there. You walk in and there's somebody sitting at the desk and there's other ones behind.
But there is controlled access to get behind. You don't get behind that receptionist desk without being let in, and there's multiple workers there, not just one person at a time. So there is some similarities, but there's difference, and there is
I think what
controlled
Brenda
access.
tried mentioning is there's a desk and it's wide open.
Yes.
Anybody can go
Yeah,
over and
you
get in there.
can get in there if you want to. I mean, their secured access isn't going to stop that. Second of all, this is a city building. I know you have had approval, but before the county would start putting this kind of funding into something like that, I think that's something we need to also take into consideration. I've looked through last year's budget and this year's budget. I see nothing specific in here about access doors. What portion of your budget are you going to pull this out of?
I have funds in the miscellaneous portion or the top line item, 420 for the professional services, or the bottom for the miscellaneous. Our catastrophic poor came in about 10,000 less the year before, so those would be the two. I don't have the numbers.
So it would
If
be
you have the sheet, I can.
429, this is here, sorry. It would be 429, there's
Other
$12,000
current.
professional services, there are 41,000 remaining.
Yeah, 429. Our catastrophic came in lower, so.
41,000 remaining in that
In
one?
422, which is care for professional service.
All right.
But okay, I gotta look here. You had other things that you had listed for that. But anyway, like I said, there was nothing specific mentioned about a door. So you said it was a budgeted item. I would have thought you would have listed that, but I don't see
think
it.
you said it was a budgeted item. You
Yeah,
said
she
it was
has
in
in
the budget.
previous meetings said it was a budgeted item.
The door item, and that would have come under, there was office repair, care of poor office repair, 425. So it's a little bit higher than what I had estimated at.
All right.
There was
Yeah,
a
you
building.
budgeted 2,500, we have spent 1,256. About half of it is left.
Any more questions?
And I guess I'm kind of with Lee. I think before we make a decision on this, we should move it to the end of the meeting, and we need to have an exec session with the sensitivity of security, that we need to dive in a little bit into some of this, and also personnel. So I guess I would ask that this gets moved, rather than holding up the whole meeting and having an exec right now, coming back and doing it at the end of the meeting. I don't know what the rest
Yeah,
of you
I'd
think.
feel more comfortable with that, just being able to balance the two, the two options.
You want Brad to sit in?
Well, he's
Well,
going to have
if
to
he can.
leave,
I
so
don't think we need Brad, do we?
I think
Unless you want to stick around, Brad.
I don't know if I need to be here.
If you explain to Terry maybe some of your things, and because Terry will be in on that, then he can relay that on to us too.
All right, so,
You
that'd be
got one
helpful.
spot left in your quota meeting for the day?
I do, another flood meeting, yep.
all right.
Either that.
We will continue this discussion in executive session at the end of the meeting.
So after executive session, we make
There
a motion
might-
and make a decision, just so people
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, there will be a decision made after we
After
come
that.
out of executive session, so the press will know. All right?
I do believe Rich has to take off, I think, so is there any other questions you have for him? I don't think he'll be able to stay.
Yeah, any other questions? Any other questions?
Yeah. So,
And I need to get on the road up to Millbank to look at flooding. But,
okay.
but I'd be happy to, if you want to call me with questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Yeah, leave your cell phone then. That would, we can-
I've got it.
Need that.
Troy's got it. Sarah.
Okay.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on then to number 14. Item number 14, public hearing and action to adopt the 2020 annual budget and levy resolutions. I need to open it up to public hearing then, don't I?
Yes, this is our final public hearing.
This is
today.
it.
Yep.
This being the September 24th meeting, and we had announced earlier that this would be our final public meeting in reference to the annual budget and levy resolutions. So at this time, I will open the meeting up for public hearing. So is there anyone in the audience, anyone here that wishes to make a statement or has questions in reference to the budget? Speak now or forever hold your peace, I guess. Anything from anyone? Last chance, anything, any comments from anyone? Seeing none, at this time I'll close the public hearing. All right? That takes care of that then. Let's go on to number 15 then.
No,
Oh.
no,
No, no, we gotta do
I
something
mean,
with
you've
that.
got, you closed the public hearing, now
Yeah.
you've got to turn to the board for action to adopt the budget and the accompanying levy resolution.
I thought maybe we'd just slide right through that.
I'll make a motion to
With-
accept.
I would like to add, and to the commissioner's budget.
Well, first you have to have a motion to do it, to adopt the budget, and then you would make subsequent motions to,
So I'll entertain a motion to adopt the budget.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Troy.
Second that.
Second by Brenda. Any discussion?
So I had
Now-
a couple things to mention for a
All right.
possible amendment, and maybe we could combine the two into one motion if, so I had, Mr. Chairman, I had two items. One was the sprinkler system that we just opened our bid on. That was, we had budgeted 70,000 for that one, which is right in between those two, the alternate and the base bid amount. So I don't think we're going to be able to pay that bill this year. So I think we need to basically move that money from this year to next year. But since the base bid amount was $71,130, I would suggest that be $72,000 just to cover that. And then that would go into the government buildings part of the budget, I think, if I'm
Just a
correct.
bit of an explanation. It's not that we wouldn't be able to pay it, it's just that we wouldn't be billed before the end of the year.
Correct.
The
Yeah, I
project
think
would
it's
not be done.
I think it's pretty unlikely that we'd get billed by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then the other
what
piece.
was that amount? What was that amount?
72,000.
72,000.
So we
okay.
budgeted
All right.
70, but given the fact that the upper bid's a little higher than the 70, that I would suggest adding 2,000 to that. And then on the, I had talked before about approximately $40,000 for consultation on justice processes. So not about the jail building, but about the just consultation. I'd like to hear your feedback on this. We have two research opportunities that we might not cost us anything. One is the one that University of South Dakota asked us to be a rural jail as a subject of research, and so we might learn a lot of good things about that. But that's very focused on the jail as opposed to the whole process of justice. Dealing with both the courts and all the legal processes. It might include some other things like pre-trial and other things that aren't specific just to what the jail does. There might be some other things. Then the other one, and I think I mentioned this at a previous meeting, and I'd like to be able to apply for, it's not a grant, but to be an intensive subject of research or research partner with the Arnold Ventures Foundation. And those are the guys that paid for me to go to that conference in Oakland that dealt with data-driven justice. And that would also be part of implementing the public safety assessment, which is a risk assessment tool for when you bring people into the jail. And the idea there is that you get that jail population right. Hopefully it would at least give us better control of the jail population, but possibly if we were to apply for that and then get that awarded, that would take care of some of the need for consultation as well. So I think the question is, are we comfortable? We could, and if the need did arise where we say, hey, we're not really getting everything we need to understand about our processes and we would like a consultant, then the question is, do you want to budget specifically for that or hope that we get these grants or these research opportunities awarded to us and maybe just look to commissioners' contingency as a way to deal with it if that comes up. So that's kind of I just wanted to get a sense from my fellow commissioners on that one.
So what I need from you is an exact amount and exactly what it's for.
I know, but I'm trying to get a sense, I'm trying to have a discussion here with the other commissioners on that particular thing. So my hope is that we get both of these research opportunities and that we wouldn't have a need for a consultant. That would be my hope.
That's where you lost me, okay.
So I would hope that.
Okay.
The question is, now we're budgeting $250,000 in commissioner's contingency, and we're doing okay with that this year. So that
We
might.
will be tapping into that for court-appointed attorneys.
Right.
Probably next month.
But I think we're talking at most maybe for a consultant in the $40,000-ish area.
Yeah, well-
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Prior years and commissioner contingency, it just has zeros on here, but I thought we.
It's usually been 250,000.
We
It's
always
because
have
of,
just used it.
because of the nature of what it is. It's, commissioner's contingency is not an expenditure budget. It's an amount that you transfer to an expenditure budget in order to spend. So that's why it doesn't show up on the budget worksheets, yeah.
So, and then before we formulate a motion, maybe, I don't know, anybody have any sense on that? Would you rather specifically budget for that amount, but, you know, in case we don't get one or two of these grant opportunities.
I
And
think
there,
that
you know,
would
you
be a
can,
safe thing to do, don't you?
I think it'd be safer, yeah.
I mean, it would be a
But on the
safer-
other hand,
What is the dollar amount that you're looking
I
at?
would suggest add, so this would be line 422, Commissioners Professional Service. Right now, there's 18,000 budgeted in there, so increasing that by 40,000 would bring that to 58,000. So that's what I would, if we're going to do it, go that route.
For consultation on justice
On justice, yeah, justice processes. Yeah.
Okay, processes,
Yeah.
all right.
And then
Okay.
the other, I guess Commissioner Hanton had something as well. Maybe we could combine it into one amendment if we need to.
Yeah, mine is to increase our travel. I'm on the exec board, and I'm still waiting to hear. I could be on the national NACO board, so at that point, I have it already budgeted to go to the NACO conference in July, but if I get on this board, then I will also need to go to the LEDGE conference in March. So from figuring out what we've had left previous years, that would be $1,500 to the travel budget.
Before we get too wild, we gotta remember, we gotta control our spending. And everything is important. Everything is important. There's no question about that. I certainly would like and hope that we could get some
Grants.
yeah, some help on these, I don't know, I get a little bit frustrated with surveys, you know, how many dollars have we spent on jail surveys now, you know, lots and lots of money on that, and we still don't have a jail, you know, and are we gonna be researched out pretty soon, or,
Well, yeah,
you know, you wonder about,
that's a good question, Mr. Chairman.
you know, $40,000 isn't a lot of money
No.
in a $10 million budget, but $40,000 is a lot of,
Yeah.
when you get to the bottom
No,
line. That's-
I hear you, but the
Yeah.
question, you know, the issue though is we don't have this expertise in-house. I mean, there's something that we could weigh. I mean, I think, you know, yeah, everything is important and we do have to be limited. So, you know, what we could, maybe by way of compromise, you know, we could cut that down some and then try to balance it between, if there is a difference to be made, balance that between commissioners' contingency and, you know, and that there's a little bit of, you know, we're taking, and then hopefully we'd get some of these other research opportunities at no cost. And so, but again, those are big efforts. We're competing against counties across the country for those, you know, for those grant opportunities, those research opportunities. And so, you know, and the other thing is, like you say, you know, you know, for a fairly small amount, we might be able to get a better handle on our jail population, that's the big thing that's kind of looming on the horizon, is we got to deal with that structure. So if we can make it smaller, you know, and that this might help us to do that, or at least get it the right size. And so we think we've made a lot of progress on that with the research that we've done. So, in getting those and understanding what our jail problem is, so, and our justice problem in general. But anyway, so.
And as far as mine goes, this is just, you know, not set in stone. If I don't get appointed to that committee, I will not be going to that conference, so it wouldn't be anything that I would use. The only way I would go to it is if I am appointed, and they haven't made those appointments yet, so I'm just future planning for that. I don't know.
Didn't you go to the NACO conference this year?
Yes.
And what about the previous year?
I went the previous year, yep. I'm on the executive board for the county commissioners, so it's important for me to go, and those are the first years that I've ever went, and it's something that's really
What does that cost
good.
us, Cindy, to be a member of NACO?
To be a member of
Yeah,
NACO?
we're Cottington County is
All the counties in South Dakota are a member of
All of them
NACO.
are?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All
Yep, we
the
are a
counties
full participant state at this time, yep. It's around 500, let me see.
Okay, that's good enough. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
It's not a huge amount.
No, thank you. That's more than sufficient.
That's
Hey,
the
we
one
got some
that we-
good discussion going here. Anything else?
Just, Mr. Chairman, so I don't know, what are the feelings of my fellow commissioners on that consultation thing? I think the sprinklers, we have to take care of that one. On the consultation, it could go either way, just I wanted to get a sense of, I mean, what I'd like to do again is apply for this. We've already, working with USD on that one research opportunity for rural jails. I'd like to apply for this other one with the Arnold Ventures, or the Arnold Foundation, to become a research partner for our, mostly it's a focus on pretrial processes. And hopefully that would be an opportunity we'd be able to take advantage of. There may be a need to, beyond what the scope of that, to do something else. I guess personally, I think, we might be able to take the risk of getting those grants or getting those opportunities. They're not technically not grants, and then also, if we had to, I think we've been fairly careful with our commissioner's contingency. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I think we might be okay to.
I'm just curious, Cindy, where do we sit in that commissioner's contingency right now?
Right now, we have not spent anything out of commissioner's contingency in 2019.
There would definitely be a chunk that comes out for court costs.
We do know, there could be more than one budget that's going to need some, possibly the mentally ill budget and the court-appointed attorney budget.
Have you considered the possibility you might have a flooding issue next spring that you have to pay for?
Yeah.
It's really expensive.
Yeah.
I would say rather than maybe adding that, the data part in or whatever, see if we can get those grants first. And if we can't, I guess we can wait and see how everything
I guess
goes.
We could do a supplemental if we really had to later on. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be,
I mean, if
that'd
it's
be a bit of a-
something
yeah, okay.
that we feel is a need at that point, then, because the sprinkler will just move from this year's budget to next year's budget, basically, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
it was
basically
in
all.
last
That's basically
year.
all we're doing.
So that's just with an addition of.
Yeah, adding a little bit, but $2,000. But yeah, okay.
I think wherever we can save right now, and we need to do that, because going into next year, as Carol just said, we don't know what the next year is going to bring as far as the flooding. The governor's saying it could be a disaster if we have a terrible winter this year, and that's pretty likely. So I'm going to err on the side of let's save our pennies, and that includes the travel budget request. So.
What about, we had some requests for some expenditures out at the park, right? From Memorial Park or?
Those are probably already.
Maintenance?
I would imagine those are already.
Nothing other than what was in the previous budget review.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing additional to what you have already seen.
Okay. All right, is there anything else? Yeah, Waterman, Commissioner Waterman.
I am probably as conservative as anybody is, but travel requests and more study requests, it just seems like we can study something forever. And if we have to look for support, we can just, or not support, but if we want to look for an example, we just have to go to Washington, D.C., and it's committee, we'll study this, we'll study that, we'll study something else. Somewhere along the line, maybe the state legislature has to come up with some laws for ingestion and things like that. And that would alleviate the jail problem by quite a bit.
Yeah, I think.
If they come up with it. I'm not a believer in marijuana. I know we got a drug problem. When you look at the list, I don't know who's looked at the list down at the jail. It's all drugs.
Pretty much.
No, there's one rape, there's one other one, there's that burglary at Makepeace Jewelers, but we can't. We can study it, but I can see where the problem is right now, and that's going to have to go back to the legislature.
So I have a question, I guess. So you're saying you're against adding on to the travel as well, for me to go to the Ledge Conference?
Well, how many years do you want to go? What are we getting for the value for you going, and anybody on a travel? What are we getting for our travel dollar? How is it helping us
Yeah, well, I have started that ball rolling with Lee and with Aaron and the USD thing. That has all helped, that will help us in the end. I have to ask the same question as you guys allow our welfare director to go, and she's went for 10 years, and she has a travel budget of $7,600, and she's not even an elected official. And the reason you allow her to go is because she's on a committee. And so I'm asking for $1,500 more. I'm an elected official, I'm on the executive board, and then you're gonna say you're not going to allow that?
Well, can I chime in on just
Go ahead,
answer part-
Lee.
Yeah, answer part of Commissioner Waterman's question. So the benefit is, the benefit for this kind of travel is to be able to feed into the processes, whether it's at the state level, where we're talking to our state legislators, or at the federal level through NACO. I mean, the idea is you want to inject into that debate with the benefit. And yeah, these are long-term kind of things in shaping the debate on a federal issue that may become a county issue. So, for example, there's a lot of things that the federal government does that Waters of the U.S. are a prime example that would affect this county. Or say, for example, the issues of Medicaid or veterans benefits ending for somebody that goes to our jail. Those kinds of things. Those are federal policies that affect our county, and they affect our budgets sometimes. So that's the benefit of that kind of the travel that Commissioner Hand's describing. The benefit that the intended benefit of, say, Sarah's travel under as part of a NACO committee is that we're able to participate in that debate. And then the other thing is, kind of an add-on to that is when you have a grant opportunity or something like that, you're a bit more of a known quantity. Your county's a bit more of a known quantity. So that's not really the intended benefit. A beneficial side effect sometimes. So that's the idea with it.
And just to add to that, so last year was my first year. Until you went to one, you really don't understand the overwhelmingness of it. And then this year, so I became more involved, and the committee I want to get on is economic development and workforce development. So I'm hoping by doing that there's things that I can bring back to help those issues in our county, because we have people already, like from Sioux Falls, that are on the jail, and Sarah's on the health. And so it's a whole different sort of aspect of what I'm hoping to gain from going to focus on.
Well, and I don't think that the argument is whether or not we see the value in you attending these conferences. I think the argument is that we need to lock our checkbook down a little bit here, folks. We're getting into some hard times. We're going to have to make some decisions. This county is getting ready to potentially face a disaster next year. And it's not about whether or not we think you attending the conference is valuable to the residents of Cottington County. We know it is. The information, the contacts that you make, that's great. That's fine. But we're going to have to make some hard decisions. The governor came out last week and said that this is the largest natural disaster South Dakota has ever seen in the history. So we need to make some hard decisions in our budget, because that affects us locally and what's going to happen in the next year.
Okay, with that being said then, so with our Care of the Poor office travel being $7,600, you're comfortable with leaving it at that point then? Because
maybe we need to look at that.
You said at the beginning, is anybody going to have any discrepancy? And at that point, I didn't, but I guess now I do, because it doesn't seem right then. If we're not, then why are we having a person that is not quite full-time and not even full-time or help in there has a $7,600 travel budget? And I brought this up for the last 2 years, that I have said over and over, I don't see that that's really something that needs to be there. I mean, you go through all of them, and there's many, many people in their offices, and they don't have those dollar amounts in there.
All right, we've had some good discussion here. It says, hearing an action to adopt the 2020 annual budget and levy resolution. We haven't talked about the levy resolution yet.
The levy resolution is driven by the budget. So, or no, it's not driven by the budget. It's driven by the tax dollars that we are allowed to levy by law. So we are allowed by law to levy $8,577,003 for pay 2020. That would result in a levy of 3.114, which is down slightly from the levy for pay 2019, which is 3.149.
But the dollar amount is a little bit more.
300, we are allowed to budget an additional, or levy an additional $306,026 for pay 2020, and that is based on the consumer price index and the growth within Cottington County for the year.
That's both of those factors.
Both of those factors together, correct.
Yeah.
Growth, I think, or CPI was 2.4, and growth was 1 point something. I don't have the exact number with me right
A
now.
little less than 2. Yeah.
So that's what we are, that's how we are allowed to increase our property tax revenue. We base it on what we are collecting in 2019 times the CPI and the growth, and that will give us $306,026 more in 2020. I think that was on that
It's
budget
on that
review
sheet that we have.
that I sent out.
All right. So you've heard that part of it. So at this point, is there any more discussion?
I think
You don't
we
want
need-
to, if anybody has anything else to say, now
I
it's
think
time
we
to
need
say
to-
it.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think-
go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, I think I need to make a motion to amend the budget, specifically line 432, which is government buildings, to add in that cost for the sprinkler, so to add in $72,000. So again, that's basically moving the money we were going to spend this year to the following year for the sake of billing. So that's line 432. And the current total in that line, the current budget amount is $65,000. That's what I'm seeing on my draft.
Let me look just a sec.
I see that as well, 65,000.
And that would be for items that the facility manager has budgeted.
Yeah, so that would change that line item to $137,000.
Should we vote on that item individually?
That's entirely up to you. You have a motion, but not a second at this point.
So that's my motion. is
I'll
to add
second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to add the, what was it?
$72,000 to line item 432 in the government buildings budget.
Anybody have any questions on that? We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that?
And that would be for the sprinkler system.
Yeah, and I think Lee has explained it pretty well. Is there any discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, that's done. All right, now let's go back to the budget itself. Any wishes from the board here?
Well, I'll make an amendment for the commissioner's budget. This is contingent on whether I get placed on that committee. That would be the only time I would anticipate attending the LEDGE conference. So for line item 427, commissioner's budget, to add $1,500 for that purpose.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Lee, we have the second. Discussion. Discussion. Any discussion?
I'm going to vote to approve that, Brenda. But I think we need to really tighten our strings.
I agree.
And-
I'm not saying, like I said, this is only contingent if I get placed on that
And
committee. If
I
I don't,
understand
I
that,
don't
and
plan
I
on
understand
going.
that, but I don't want you to get appointed to that and us not have money to send you. So I'll support it, but we need to take a look at this stuff in the future.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? I'm going to throw my 2 cents worth in here, and whatever it's worth, 2 cents, probably from a different angle. I'm a continuing ed person. I mean, that's what I've done in my life, is continuing ed. And I always encourage people to take opportunities to learn, to attend conventions and conferences, and because you always learn something there. And it's important. But remember what your job is what I have to think about. Remember when you're at these sessions, these meetings, or whatever they are, you're not here. Now, I know that we have teleconference, we have telephones, but it's not like you being here. And to run and operate a meeting with 1 or 2 commissioners absent or being on a telephone makes it cumbersome, and our constituents, they say, well, you know, where are these people at? You know, how many meetings do they attend? And you understand what I'm saying. I think we need to be concerned about, if we're attending a meeting, make certain it's a worthwhile meeting, that's something that we're going to do at that meeting we can bring back and implement it into the county, and it's going to help us one way or another. That's my 2 cents. I'll get off my soapbox now. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? We have a motion and a second. Mr. Waterman.
I have, well, no, go ahead. I have a separate item I'd like to talk about.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. All right, that's that part of the budget.
Well, those are 2 amendments to the
Yeah.
budget. We have the
Yeah.
original motion to adopt the budget would be
Yeah.
as amended so
Yep.
far, so we need to do that.
Now we need to,
And adopt the levy resolution, which can be in one motion.
yep, and I'll entertain a motion to do just that.
We already have
We have a
that.
motion.
We have a motion and a second to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we do.
So if there
That
are
was
no-
way back.
If there are no further amendments to the
Yeah, are there any
budget.
more amendments? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Cindy, for
Nope,
keeping
you're
me on
welcome.
track. Any other amendments? Any other amendments? Any other amendments? Commissioner Waterman?
Nope.
All right.
I'll refer that to a later date.
All right. Any other amendments? Seeing none? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All
I'm
right.
going to send Brown the levy
Did we vote? I'm
resolution.
sorry.
I have 3 copies. I need to have you each sign all 3 copies.
That was approved.
We'll do that right now.
All 3 copies.
Yes.
And thank you, commissioners, for working through that. Is everybody happy?
So the piece that we're signing does not include, the amounts don't include those 2 amendments, do they? Or
The piece you're assigning does not have anything to do with the amendments.
Well, this is the levy
This is
resolution.
just the property tax
Okay.
levy that you're signing, yeah. When I write up the minutes, your amendments will be noted along with the adjustments we have to make to cash applied.
All right. That being done, let's go on to item number 15, discussion action to add vaping to the county's no smoking policy. And about a year or 2 ago, somebody said I would be saying something like that at a commission meeting. I said, what in the world are you talking about? You know. But here we are. Go ahead. You coming up, Terry?
Sure.
Going to share with us?
Give you a simple one and won't cost you any money.
There you go.
perfect. We even save us some card.
Introduce yourself. So
I'm Terry Satterley, Human Resource Manager for Cottington County. I drew up a commission directive modifying county-owned building maintained or leased by the county?
Should it be buildings and vehicles?
Yep.
Okay. That's the way the smoking policy
Yeah, I
is.
took it exactly.
You did, okay, all right,
Slid
okay.
in vaping.
Buildings and vehicles, but not grounds?
Well, you don't prohibit smoking from the ground now. You want it in there.
Currently, people are standing out on the front steps smoking.
I think the state law says in the public buildings, if I
Yeah,
remember.
I was just
Yeah.
having a little
I'll
light.
I'll make a motion to adopt that.
All right, we have a motion by
Seconded.
Gable, a second by Hatton. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion from anyone?
Just, everybody probably has seen the signs, we already put stickers on to prohibit vaping in the courthouse anyway, just as a warning, but this makes it official.
Apparently we had an employee who couldn't read the signs.
Okay. Can they read that?
That precipitated another fire.
So what do we have if they are caught doing it? Do we have something in our policies of disciplinary sort of
Well,
action?
if an employee violates county policy, they're subject to disciplinary action.
Any more discussion? Anything else? Any other questions for Terry? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Terry.
It's Terry.
I told you it was going to be.
Painless.
That's correct.
Appreciate it.
That's where I come up.
Thank you very much. All right, let's go on to number 16 then. Action to terminate agreement with Official Payments Corp.
Yeah, Official Payments Corp is...
You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Carol Maloney, and I'm the treasurer for Cottington County.
Thank you, Carol.
Very famous.
Okay. Official Payments Corp is a company that currently provides our online credit card payments. We've got a link in our section of the county's website that allows them to go out there, and if they choose to pay their real estate taxes, they can do that through that website. The reason I'm looking at terminating Official Payments is it's just never caught on. This last year, I looked just this last spring, and there were 14 people, I believe, that used it. And I think there were maybe $6,000 worth of taxes collected. Sorry, $10,736 worth of taxes collected. So it's just become non-use. And there are other services that I'm looking at moving to that will provide that same, plus there will be additional services that I'd like to move to. So we do have a contract with them that requires a 60-day notice. What I'm thinking is to transition after the first of the year to the new company. But anyway, it's a board agreed to contract, so I
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Gable, second by Waterman. Any discussion?
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
I
Brenda.
had a question. I have already received the answer from Carol, but I thought it just might be helpful for anybody and so that it's become public. So the question was, we have to charge a fee when someone comes in and uses a card, whether it be a bank or credit card or whatever. And their question, they don't really understand why that has to happen where, they can use it at other places and they don't get charged a fee. So if Carol could just go into a little detail on that to explain.
Yep. The reason that we charge a fee, and actually we don't charge the fee, we never see that money. But if you come into my office and you buy a car tag for $118 for a big truck, we will get $118, and the company that processes our credit card payments for us gets 2.49%. So they get about $3 out of that bill. It'll hit your statement as two line items, $118 for us and $3 for them. The reason we do that is the county is really not in a position to absorb those credit card processing fees on big line items for real estate taxes or motor vehicles. After I talked to Brenda, I took a look at the last couple of years of charges, and in 2018, we had $716,829 and change in credit card charges over the counter, and we get a few over the phone. On those transactions, the fees were $19,955 approximately. So if the customer doesn't absorb that fee, then the county has to absorb the fee. Well, absorbing the fee on the county's half means we have to raise somebody's property taxes. And I guess the issue would be, or the point of a discussion would be, there are a lot of people that come in and they pay by check and they pay by cash, and why should they have to absorb the cost of using a credit card or a debit card when it's a choice? It's not a situation where somebody has to use a credit card. You know, I understand wanting to earn points for your travel or whatever the customer program might be, but we don't have the ability to really absorb that fee. So that's the reason behind the customer having a convenience fee charge when they use a credit card.
And this was more on a debit card, but it's the same concept. They're still using
Same
a card. It's still, that company is charging that because they say, well, it comes right out of my bank account, you know, but it's not like a credit card, but it's still.
And that's going to lead me into one of the perks of the next program I sort of want to go to. So.
All right. Okay, any more questions for Carol? All right. I'll entertain a motion then.
We have a motion and a second to authorize you to sign the ending of the agreement.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. So Carol, let's go on with number 17, since you're right here. Action to enter into agreement with GovTech Services for real estate tax payment support services.
Right.
Explain that to us.
You bet. GovTech Services is a company that I want to move to. What they'll provide for us is online real estate tax payments that they'll process for us, but they'll also put it on their website. We'll send them a file, and they'll actually load the tax information to their website so that somebody can go in and they can pick up whichever tax parcel or whichever parcels they want to pay the real estate taxes on, and pay them through that website. What the advantage to GovTech is they have a shopping cart option, whereas the old one you paid on one parcel and then you came in again and you paid on another parcel. GovTech allows us to do more things. There's sort of three different modules that GovTech has. There is Citizens Pay, which is the option where they go to the website, they pick out their parcels, and they make the payments online. There's a portfolio section. That's for smaller banks to do escrow accounts. And then the third one, which is the other option that we're really interested in, is their Escrow Pro module. And that allows us they facilitate the posting of payments by some tax services like CoreLogic, Loretta, Wells Fargo, some of these bigger escrow companies. That part of their program will allow us to minimize errors because we upload to their website every day a tax file, so they know what's current, what was paid in the current day, and where they're standing. And then they facilitate the payments with the mortgage companies by sending them a file at the tail end of April, so they know, because the mortgage company knows which ones they want to pay, and they send them a file, same day it says, okay, this is what the status is. They check that status, and then they upload the file of what they're going to pay. GovTech marks it on their website which ones are going to be paid, that there's an anticipated mortgage company payment coming. So if somebody goes on, and it happens, people are escrowing for their house, but they sort of forget that they're escrowing for their house, and they'll come in and they'll make the payment. Well, if they come in and make the payment to me, and then the mortgage company comes in, the mortgage company is one that gets their money in, refunded, because I don't know what the status is. Has that mortgage been rewritten? Is it just a carryover of an escrow account? We don't know. So whoever gives me the money last gets the money back. And the problem with that is sometimes these refunds are running through a third party, and it can take a month or 2 months or whatever to get back. So this way, if I never get the money,
It's tagged, so you know that it's coming from there.
Right, so they don't double, it reduces the amount of errors, and it reduces the amount of refunds that are involved. But as to fees on this one, the credit card payment fee would be the same through their online, the 3%. But what GovTech allows us to do is it allows us to take an e-check, and the transaction fee on that, instead of being a percentage, is a flat $2 fee. So those are some of the advantages that we're seeing going to GovTech. You know, I've been looking at the company for a year, 2 years, and this year I'm finally sort of comfortable. I've had more counties started using them, and they've been fantastic to work with. So they sort of have a track record, and that makes it more of a choice for us, I think.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Let's say it doesn't work out. How do we get out of it? Is it a problem?
No, same kind of thing. There's a notice to them that we want to terminate the program, and then we move on. There's no withdrawal fees, no penalties, there's nothing. The county doesn't actually pay the fee. Again, it's the consumer that's making the choice to use that service that pays the fee.
Mr. Chairman, so are there no other fees for us? It's just the credit card fees, or there are fees that we would pay, right? You might have said that.
Right. We don't pay any fees.
Okay.
The mortgage companies that I sort of mentioned before, they are paying a fee to the companies who facilitate that.
All right.
Make a motion to.
We have a motion by
I'll second.
Gable, a second by Van Duzen. Is there any more discussion? Thank you very much for the...
I have these 3 companies. This is from NACO information I received, and I'm going to see which ones the other entities in the state are using, and I'll give you the one that I just...
Minnehaha County is starting this in the fall, so
All right,
that's...
so that's the one.
Did they have a booth at the convention? I thought I saw it.
I don't know if they were there this time. They've been there before. Because I stopped and talked to the guy, not this fall, but last fall, about it to sort of get some ideas. To make it work, my escrow side, I know you guys are done, but to make the escrow side work, I also need my software company to work with it. Well, they've written me something to work with Wells Fargo. We're going to give that a run here in October, get some of the bugs out, and then we'll transition hopefully to them in April, and everything should go smoothly. Okay? Yeah.
Seems to me it'd be easier
not
just to come to the courthouse and pay your taxes.
Not a good time for it to...
We got a nice building.
Yeah.
Yep.
With sprinklers.
Yeah.
So hopefully soon.
More discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Action to approve the claims for payment. We have salary, of course.
We have salary claims, and we also have some miscellaneous disbursements. Salary claims are in the amount of $555,459.51, and it does include all of the step increases that you have approved in the last month.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? See none? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
We have some miscellaneous claims. The first one, several of these are for our law enforcement staff who had to obtain CDL licenses. The amounts are different because we paid some of them a portion of this when we did payroll in August, and now we're doing the remaining portion. So Matt Blackwelder will receive $90. Michael Gubka, $123. Adam Reeves, $123. Trevor Schimmel, $123. Brent Solom, $156. And like I said, this is all related to CDL expenses. And then we have claims payable to Visa Reliabank. You need to add Toby Wishard to that for $156 to the CDL, and then claims to Visa Reliabank in the amount of $1,297.51, and that is for various supplies and travels.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by
Second.
Van Dusen. Any discussion?
Cindy, why the CDL licenses? Any idea?
I believe it was because of the MRAP.
Okay.
In order to, that's what you might have to check with Sheriff Howell.
Okay.
I was told it was because of requirements for operating
Just
the
their
MRAP.
tactical vehicle.
Makes sense.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 19, action to approve automatic budget supplements.
I have nothing for 19, 20, or 21.
That's what we like to hear. Number 22, public notices, CCJAC meeting October 10th, right, Lee?
Yep.
I will be adding the volunteer appreciation dinner to this list. I'm going to change that title to public notices, possible quorum of county commissioners, so people
Good.
know why it's appearing on the agenda.
Okay, good. Any old business that we need to bring before the board today? Any old business, any mature business? Lee?
Yeah, just a few quick things. So 2 weeks ago, I did the White House visit, and just so people know what that is about, that's kind of another thing about entering into the debate, making contacts. So essentially what's going on, I think people have heard this before, is that the current presidential administration is inviting county commissioners to come on a regional basis, kind of breaking up parts of the country on a regional basis to come to the White House and interact with the administration officials. And so basically they're trying to network with us commissioners so that they can keep track of all the issues that the federal government or the administration specifically might be doing or not doing that affect what happens at the county level. And probably the key takeaway from that is now, and I have this to share, is a list of contact numbers so we can actually contact people in the administration. So that's something that I'll send that to Cindy, and so everybody has that. There was a lot, in this particular meeting, there was a lot of focus on Department of Interior issues, EPA. They kind of gave us the sneak peek on the Waters of the U.S. announcement. It was 2 days, the conference was actually 2 days before the announcement of the EPA's announcement about the waters of the U.S., the redefining of that. And then, there were, I want to say six other commissioners or five other commissioners from South Dakota, from different counties there as well. So a lot of, but it was the northwest section of the country. So Washington State, Alaska, Oregon, Montana, Idaho. So, and then the Dakotas.
Okay.
Yeah. And then a couple other things, Mr. Chairman. I mentioned that research opportunity, like we've done the one with the USD. And I've mentioned this in the past, but if we'd have to approve by officially at some point that we're going to apply for this, but just so folks know, I'm starting to look into how we put together an application to become an Arnold Ventures research, intensive research partner, for lack of a better term, that we talked about earlier, and that surrounds the public safety assessment, the risk assessment tool. The thing to weigh there is that that application is due November 1st. They wouldn't announce awards until, I want to say, March 1st. So we're looking at maybe putting off implementing the PSA. And by the way, Pennington County and Minnehaha County being very helpful getting us up to speed in how we handle the data in the Zerker system in the jail. We had a good phone meeting with the data person from Pennington County and took a step ahead. But we can't, in order to apply for this opportunity, we can't implement the PSA. And I think the potential benefits of all the assistance we might get if we were selected, probably are worth waiting 6 months before we know. Because other than, because we'll have to figure it out on our own otherwise, which we could do. I don't know if it would be that much faster to try to do it on our own. If it might even be slower. So that's, I'll be asking people, different department heads and whoever for some letters of support that typically go with a grant type package. And and the last old business item, Mr. Chairman, is our resolution that we started here for to be able to ask voters for county a half-cent sales tax for county infrastructure as opposed to property tax. That was approved as a statewide resolution by the County Commissioners Association. So those are the three old business things.
Okay, thank you.
I will bring up an old business item that I have mentioned before about 211, trying to bring that to our community. Right now I'm in the process of meeting with other service groups to try to work out funding. The state is going to grant counties now an opportunity to sign up that they're going to pay a portion of that For Cottington, for example, our population is, from their chart, is 28,520. So the 211 cost is 26,238. So then the match, after what the state will do, our amount would be $13,119. So I'm in the process of trying to work it. Lee and Myron, you sat in on that 211 presentation. It's just hard to explain. I guess I'd like to get a representative come and explain it to you. There's just so many benefits. Like down in Madison, that was and Sioux Falls, a lifesaver for those communities, for those individuals to dial up 211. Who I have trees down, who can I get to come? So it also takes the pressure off from our 911 individuals here as people become aware of it, that they aren't calling them for those sorts of questions, or their sheriff's office for those sorts of questions.
So basically, 211 is as I understand it, is a information gathering point for resources for people that have a need for specific items, correct?
Well,
like
yep.
Infrastructure, like I need
it
a...
can be any, I mean, they can call in, if they have if they have an emergency going on, they can call 211, and the people that we found out that work in that center are highly trained. They're not just volunteers. So if you don't have, so they come into your community and they see what resources you have, and then they have all the numbers available to relay people on to whatever needs they have. But if there's things that you don't have, then they will address it, or you'll be able to talk to somebody online or whatever about it. And if it's a crisis, they'll get you in touch with who you need to, or if you need to talk to somebody. But yeah, you got.
It says that the Helpline Center has been the 211 provider in South Dakota since 2001. Approximately 70% of South Dakota's population with access to 211, and they are continuing to work towards statewide access.
Yes.
So.
I'd say, if I can just interject,
Yep.
it's
Senate
kind
Bill
of,
8.
if you think of it like the old 411 plus some crisis intervention, particularly like a crisis. So there's a suicide prevention is a major focus of this. So it's kind of like old 411 plus suicide prevention and that kind of crisis. And there are some things to talk about, because right now in the community we deal with the suicide hotline in a different way. But how do we get all that worked out? But this I mean, there were some definite advantages to it. It was an impressive presentation, I thought. So it would be good for us to hear it as a kind of commission. Maybe invite city and other organization officials to come and listen when we do that.
I thought too it'd be good for them to come into our community and explain it to the rest of you that it's just so much more than suicide. And it is a suicide. It started out as a suicide crisis line, because she mentioned that other number, and then she said 211. She's like, so can you remember what that number was? But you knew what 211 was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a much simpler way. And just to help people navigate through the system sometimes is very frustrating for them. They don't know where they maybe need to go pay their taxes, or, it's just simple questions sometimes that we consider simple, but it's cumbersome for some
I
individuals.
sat in on the program out at the state conference, and it's a good program. But here again, where do we draw the line? It's another, $14,000 or something like that. And, sometimes people just have to learn to take care of themselves. We can't do everything for them, and I just think, we have all of these services, and then everybody thinks, well, there's got to be service for me. How do I find it, So we have to have another service to find the service. So I don't know. But it's a good program, and I certainly would welcome to come in and visit with the entire commission group here to get a feel for what it's all about.
And
maybe it's a good investment.
Right. I am trying to work on the funding portion so that it isn't, if all of us.
Now, as far as working on the funding part of it, what they did suggest there is if that we could combine efforts with the city, with the county, and maybe, as I was walking out of there and thinking about what I just heard a little bit later, what about the local communities, like the Florences and the South Shores and some of those communities? you know, if we would all kick in a certain amount or share the expenses, it would be more tolerable then. But then we all have to agree to do it too, so.
And that is what I'm working on right now to try to get.
All right, good. Anything else? Any other old business? Seeing none, any new business?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Just a couple quick things. One is, I want to thank the sheriff's office, the jail, and the judges Means and Spears, as well as our auditor, Cindy, in her office. We had a field trip here with some German exchange students, and somehow it become known as Commissioner Field Trip, but it's kind of fun to do, actually. But it's important, and there's been a few high school classes that have, in the past year or so, have taken advantage and get oriented to county government, the jail, the court system. You know, the thing that's so interesting is seeing what the auditor does with elections. And it turned out the ballot count machine was actually made in Germany, so that was kind of a cool thing.
Yes, it was.
Since I had the German exchange students there, but so some of the so I appreciate that, and I think it is an important outreach to be able to do that. And you guys, everybody was a good diplomat, so now you're representing not just your county but your country well, because these were foreign exchange students. And then just for everybody's awareness, next meeting we'll have on the agenda the appointment for a new CCJAC member. And after talking to a number of people, you know, there's a lot of good people out there. A lot of people are just, their schedules just won't allow it. So, one very qualified individual, I think, is Jeannie Horning. So she'd be willing to serve that way. And just so everybody knows, Megan Olson has been she's very busy with her new duties as working with the banking industry. So it's very difficult for her to get to the meeting. So that's going to be on the agenda next week.
Okay, anything else? Any other new business? Any other new business? All right, let's move on then to the open. Is there any public comments at this time? Anyone that would like to make any public comments? Come before the board with any comments, questions, or whatever? Okay, what about...
Might want to note that.
Yeah, drug court, this Friday, you have an invitation at 1:30, and the featured speaker will be Carrie Johnston. She is the new CEO of the Human Service Agency, and she'll do a good job for us speaking, and also as a CEO of the Human Service Center. Good to have her there.
I would just add to that, I've attended all of them. If any of you have not, it is quite the experience to sit through and listen to those stories and what they went through to get to where they are. So it's a good thing to try to attend if you're able to.
Mr. Chairman, I think State's Attorney Reeves has a comment.
I would invite everyone to come. The two graduates are two women who have worked so hard and have come such a long way, so I think it would be inspiring for people to see what they've done and what the program is about.
So we have two.
Two women graduated.
Might I ask at this time, how many have we had this past year?
We graduated two that are graduation earlier this year, so that's there'll be 4 graduates for this calendar year, which is a rigorous program. It takes a minimum of 16 months to get through. A lot are taking longer than that, though.
I know when we always say, well, we had 4, and they'll say, wow, that's not very good, but 4 is 4. 4 is 4.
It's a program that's changing lives, and 4 lives, that's big. I'll be there.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you, and be sure it's 1:30 on this Friday. And will be upstairs in the courtroom or downstairs?
Upstairs.
Upstairs, okay? All right, very good. Any other new business?
Mr. Chair, there could be a quorum of commissioners, I'm not sure, tonight at the Chamber Annual Meeting and Dessert Auction. I will be there. I don't know if anybody else is going.
All right. Anything else? I do have a request for an executive session. I have a request from Terry Satterley, HR, and that's in reference to personnel issue and also contract negotiations. I have a request from Troy, and that's in regards to
Personnel.
personnel. Is there any other
But we had a security one.
Yeah,
for-
security and personnel.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that, we need
and
to
the
add that to
security
the-
personnel, yeah.
That's one, I mean, as of July 1st, that's a valid reason too, because of.
We'll have to get
we
that
need
added to
we
our
gotta
list.
Add that on the agenda.
And the reason for that is we probably.
We do, but it's very vague. The item is listed in codified law as discussing information listed in subdivision 1-27-1.5, 8 through 17. It does not specifically say, but when you go to that second set of laws, you can see where it applies. So I will add it, even though
It's not going to
It's vague.
specifically say it.
Yeah.
All right.
I think.
Entertain a motion to go to executive
Make that
session.
motion.
Motion by Hack, second by Waterman. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And there will likely
Pose
be,
same sign, we are in executive session.
And there will
Thank you,
likely be a-
folks, and there will be action after we come out of this.